Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live on this Memorial Day, Monday here in the United States. If you're listening here in the United States, maybe you're listening for the first time. Maybe you're usually working at this time or something. So hello, and I'm glad that you're here with, or maybe you're traveling. Probably a lot of people on the road. And so welcome. Catholic Answers Live is a product of Catholic Answers, which you can find at Catholic.com and find out all about the Catholic faith there. What we do is explain and defend the Catholic faith. And then we also do this radio show where occasionally we do other things like talk about movies, which is what we're going to do today, because in the U.S., Memorial Day is really kind of the beginning of summer. There's, as astronomical or cosmic, or I don't know what the modifier is, summer. And then there's summer, the way you have had it since you were a kid. And that always traditionally in the U.S. was Memorial Day to Labor Day. It ended on Labor Day with what used to be a very important American tradition called the Jerry Lewis Telethon, but I don't think we have that anymore. I don't know if we have that anymore. So Memorial Day is a day where we remember. Basically, we remember those who have given their lives in the service of this country, and in many ways, certainly over the last century, in the service of this country's service to world peace. And, you think of the U.S. Navy patrolling the seas, or all the many goods that the U.S. military people have done, but most particularly in defense of this country and out of love for others. Thomas Aquinas famously puts soldiering under the virtue of love, because it has to do with love of others, defending others, protecting what is valuable and good and beautiful, and out of love of all those things, putting one's own life and limb at jeopardy. And so today we remember all those who gave their lives in the service of the country. And as Americans, the way we remember things is we have foods. And so hot dogs, I don't know why, but like at Thanksgiving, we give thanks to God with a turkey. That's just how we do it. And so it's a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers and that kind of thing today. And we get ready for the summer, and summer means movies. And we're going to talk about movies for both hours today with Andrew Petiprin. And it's always a lot of fun to get to talk with Andrew Petiprin. And it's kind of fun to talk about movies too. This is where our culture expresses itself. Popular music and movies are the main thing. Well, television too, I suppose. So let me introduce you to our guest for this conversation of summer movies. Andrew Petiprin is the founder and editor at the Spe Salvi Institute. He's a columnist at Catholic World Report and host of the Ignatius Press podcast. He's a former Episcopal priest who came into full communion with the Catholic Church with his wife and children on January 1st, 2019. So give him a break if he's still getting used to this Catholic thing. I mean, 5 years... It seems like a long time, but you're still a baby in the Catholic faith. He's the co-author of the book Popcorn with the Pope, A Guide to the Vatican Film List, and the author of Truth Matters, Knowing God and Yourself. Andrew Petiprin, thank you very much for being with us.
Glad to be with you, Cy. I am. I'm just a baby Catholic. I really do
We all
appreciate everybody's guidance. Well, that's the thing. We're all converts, right? I do like to point that out.
Yeah.
But I'm a newer one.
If you're alive in the faith, you're a convert. There is no being alive in the faith without conversion to the person of Jesus Christ. So that is the truth. So you said, I'm new to the Catholic Church. Let me make a book about the Vatican Film List. How'd that happen?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't even know about the Vatican Film List, and I didn't know about it really until I approached the task of writing the book. I was working for Word on Fire at the time, and there were a couple of guys who had this idea to write this book. One of them was Father Michael Ward, who's a Catholic priest in England, who's a great expert on C.S. Lewis. Maybe you guys know his work, really great stuff. And the other one is David Paul Baird, who is a Catholic writer and all-around great guy and good thinker. So they had an idea to write a book about the 45 movies that were on this list called the Vatican Film List. This list came out in 1995, kind of out of the blue. It was a work of the Pontifical Council for Social Communication, and it was meant to mark the 100th anniversary of the motion picture. They came out with this list, 45 movies, 3 different categories: religion, values, and art. They divided up a bunch of movies. and they put out the list. All these years have passed, almost 30 years, and no one has ever written a comprehensive book about all the movies on the list. So these guys, Father Michael and David, they asked me if I'd be interested in participating with them, and the three of us divided up the movies and decided to write this book. And it's been a big success. It's a beautiful book. And for anybody who's watching the feed, I know lots of people are listening, but I'm holding it up right here. Really, really handsome book. You can buy it anywhere you buy your books. And it's full of interesting movies that you can go out and watch if you haven't watched them.
And
It's
these
good stuff.
these are movies that the Vatican listed because they thought that they were treasures. Really, is that the idea, to find treasures in the 100 years of film?
Yeah, kind of. It's still a little bit of a mystery why certain movies are on the list and why certain ones aren't. It is definitely not meant to be like an exhaustive list. Like these are the 45 movies we like the best above all others in the history of cinema, or these are the ones that you should watch, and maybe most of the rest of what's on offer isn't worth your time. In some ways, it's just kind of like a little, I don't know, like a thumbnail sketch, and it's divided up in. It's mostly organized by director, and it follows kind of what we call the auteur school. Like basically, the director is a kind of artist, right? The director is the one who kind of takes the ideas, takes a script, has a vision for what a movie is going to look like, and then puts it out there. And that's still kind of the method the model that we look at today. But it used to be more of a studio system where it didn't matter so much. The director was just kind of a hired gun and was just kind of there to kind of put the actors in front of the camera and stuff like that. So on the Vatican film list, you have, like, for example, 2 movies by the Russian director Andrei Tarkovsky. You have 2 movies by the Italian director Federico Fellini. You have 2 movies by the Danish director Carl Theodor Dreyer. And it just kind of goes on and on and on from there. And now, did those guys make more than 2 great movies? Yeah, they made many, many more than 2 great movies. But it's like the list is sort of saying, these guys are masters. They're making masterpieces. Here's 2 movies, right? So that's part of the way the list works. But then the list also includes all these sort of other things, like, for example, Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life, and Fantasia is on there, and like The Wizard of Oz is on there. So there's all these other kind of things that are just sort of movies that everybody acknowledges are interesting or important or entertaining or something, but also conveys something deeper about the human experience. So there's just all kinds of stuff on there.
Oh, that's so interesting. And so in the book, you just take a look at each of these movies and discuss them and what, and kind of put them in their context, what they mean.
Yeah, exactly. Each chapter is about it's about an 800-word, like, kind of summary and examination of what the movie is about, what it's good for, maybe places where the movie intersects with important elements of our faith. But then we also have discussion questions. So you could use the book as, like, maybe if you want to have like a parish cinema club or something like that, or even just in your family, you can use the questions as like a jumping off point to think about the movies and their spiritual significance. We also have lots of really beautiful still photos from the movies in there, and we have little, like, factoid tidbit, like little boxes with, like, movie trivia. That's one of the things I love. So I don't know about you. Like, when I go to the movies, I love to get there early and watch, like, the pre-movie. They'll have, like, little trivia questions or something like that about movies that you can sit there in your seat while you're.
I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible. So you're probably really good at it. I'm terrible at it.
Well, I'm pretty good at it, but my wife is amazing at it. She's actually the real cinema expert in our family. So yeah, we have fun.
I need that time to cool down after I just spent $73 on Diet Coke and popcorn. I need that time to mellow out before the movie. Do they not know what the prices are in the rest of the world? Are they not aware that they are on a completely different scale inside the movie house than outside?
Yeah, it's totally crazy. But I mean, you got to think of it this way, though, Cy. The movie industry is in bad shape. It's in really, really bad shape, actually.
Okay.
And they are doubling down on, this sort of high level entertainment value, where now, when you go to the movies, you always have the reclining seats. You notice that there are far fewer seats in a movie theater than there used to be. Like,
right.
They're much more spaced out. They're banking on people buying the concessions, and they're hoping that people are going to go there because they want to see, like, the big IMAX. They want to hear, like, the big sound, maybe even the seats rumble or move or something like that. Honestly, that is not my favorite thing about going to the movies. I don't really care about a lot of that stuff. I love going to the movies because I love the collective experience. I love being with other people and experiencing art. Um, and actually, some of the big, high budget, high intensity movies that kind of dominate movie theaters nowadays are not really my favorite kind of movies. I like them fine, but I kind of miss the days where you could just kind of, they had all kinds of different movies at the movie theater, and you
Right.
might, you might have kind of a dingy seat. It didn't recline, but you were there watching it on the big screen.
I want to ask you about the Flannery O'Connor movie in just a quick sec, but because that's something I'm sure many of our listeners will be interested in. You've seen the new Flannery O'Connor movie.
I have, yes, I have.
All right, so we'll get to that in a sec. But I just want to ask you, in a certain sense, why bother with movies at all? I mean, there's been such a destructive effect of mass media. It really, you can see the connection between the rise of mass media, and that's radio, and then movies, and then television, and the advent of the mass media age has been a disaster for human beings. It is an utter disaster for human beings. So, I mean, it destroyed families, it destroyed people's understanding of themselves, it destroyed religion, and we pretend like there's all these advances, and there are many social advances, but it's utterly devastating to culture. Why do we even care about movies? Why don't we just turn the whole thing off?
Yeah. Well, we probably should be more judicious about what we are watching and maybe watch fewer things, but higher quality things. But what you're expressing, Sai, is very much something that the church was concerned about, that Pope Pius XI was concerned about in the 1930s, when cinema going just completely exploded and it took off as by far the most popular form of entertainment. In 1930, 60% of American families went to the movies every week.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wow.
crazy statistic, right? But at that time, the church was like, what are these things? What are these movies? Is it just bread and circuses? Is it really going to destroy souls and destroy families, right? And so there were good reasons to think that, because all these years later, we see that has happened to some degree. But what also happened with the motion picture was, in the couple decades after that, in the 1950s and 1960s, it became really clear that movies could also be among the highest expressions of art, and that they were actually capable of showing to man in his fullest dignity, and therefore kind of in his greatest God-givenness. So this is where then the church started to rethink what movies were for. That there was still a ton of horrible mass media stuff. And in as much as a movie is just a kind of piece of entertainment, it's probably not good. But in as much as it can be a piece of art, like, the great art from the past, like,
Hmm.
like Dante or Michelangelo or, whatever, Victor Hugo or whatever, whatever you want to, whatever kind of artistic medium you want to point to, then it has the potential to really elevate the soul. Even where it's gritty, like, for example, we'll talk about Flannery O'Connor in a minute, but even where it's sort of showing the shadow side and the kind of darker side of human existence, it still has an ability to kind of shock man in a good way. This is something actually Pope Benedict talked about in his pontificate. The idea of like shocking man out of his complacency, and sort of it has a way of kind of bringing him up and helping him transcend everyday reality. So the movies, I think, at their best, have a way to do that very few other expressions of art can do in the same way, because the motion picture is just so powerful. The visual image is so powerful, and we know therefore it's also really dangerous. So it's a two-edged sword, but there are ways, and that's one of the things we hope for in the book, to kind of steer people in the direction of places to look where you can really get something more than just your kind of typical content, right? Typical just mass media.
Okay, all right. Well, then I want to ask you about that Flannery O'Connor movie then, because Flannery O'Connor, if not the most beloved, certainly one of the most beloved Catholic writers. And I don't know that she would like that categorization. I don't know, but she is beloved by Christian people, particularly by Catholic people, because her writing is it's about being us in the modern era, and she did it so well and with such unbelievable humor and all that. So we'll talk about that right after the break. I'll ask you about the new movie about Flannery O'Connor, because the other thing about Flannery O'Connor is many people have said, well, her work is unfilmable. Like you can't make a good film of it. So let's see what you thought about the new Flannery O'Connor movie right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Catch Catholic Answers Live anytime at Catholic.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
Human beings are God's greatest masterpiece. Every person is made in the image and likeness of God. But every saint, that is, every person who accepts God's invitation, his upward call to make them holy. And so every story presents us with a unique masterpiece that God is writing.
The Journey Home, tonight, 8 Eastern, on EWTN Radio and television.
Welcome back, Catholic Answers Live. Summer season is starting. That means movies, and so we're talking movies. We're going to talk summer movies. We'll talk other movies, and just run the whole gamut a bit with our guest Andrew Petiprin, who is a very serious and well prepared Catholic mind who engages with this stuff all the time, and so has done some wonderful work, including the book Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. But you used to do a podcast or a YouTube channel, I'm not sure how you would categorize it, called Watch With Me. I don't think you're doing that anymore, but this is a real passion for you, film. So
Yeah.
Have you ever read any Flannery O'Connor? Have you ever read any of her stories?
I have. I love Flannery O'Connor, but I came to her stories late, actually. My mother was an English teacher for 40 years and always loved Flannery O'Connor. Actually, my mother was born in South Georgia, like Flannery O'Connor. But I had never read Flannery until around 2016, 17, something like that. So sort of just before I became Catholic. And I was totally blown away. I had wrongly assumed that Flannery was kind of, surely she was good, but she couldn't be that good, but she is that good. She is just that good.
Well, if your mom tells you it's good, there is a certain okay, Mom, thanks. I can't remember who is. It's like the genius is always unique. It's there. You can't categorize it. Whatever you thought it was going to be, once you encounter it, it's something so much more than that. All right, but her stories are difficult. They're dark. They're terrifying sometimes. And I guess you told me at the break it was John Huston who made that movie Wise Blood out of her short novel Wise Blood. It was just a horrible movie. So not a lot of people lining up to do Flannery O'Connor on film. So tell me a little bit about this new Flannery O'Connor movie, what it is, and if it's worth watching.
Well, so the new movie is called Wildcat, which is the name of one of Flannery's short stories. And it's directed by Ethan Hawke, whom everybody will probably know from things like Dead Poets Society, Training Day. He's a very well-known actor, obviously. And his daughter, Maya Hawke, who was in she was in Stranger Things. She's been in a number of movies now. She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's terrific. She's a rising star. I think she's absolutely great. And she is just terrific in this movie as Flannery.
It's surprising that she's so good coming from the gene pool she comes from. I mean, you wouldn't expect beauty or talent from the daughter of Ethan Hawke and, tell me her mother's name.
Uma
Thurman.
Yeah.
Both brilliant actors and tall and beautiful. And okay. So clearly Maya Hawke is at every disadvantage here. But surprisingly has emerged from that a great talent.
Yeah, she's from Hollywood royalty, but she's proving to be worthy of the crown, I suppose.
Good for her. Good.
Yeah. But to answer your question, it is very much worth watching. The one of the issues is where and how to watch it. It has been released. It is playing in some movie theaters right now, but it is not in widespread release at all. So for most people, I mean, I was really fortunate. I got an advanced screening copy and I watched it and wrote a review of it. But most people will probably have to wait until it starts streaming, which we hope will happen pretty soon.
Okay.
But for anybody who can watch it on the big screen, like for example, where I live in Dallas, Ethan Hawke, who directed it, is coming to Dallas and he's going to do a talk and a screening at a local theater here. And he's been doing that in a number of cities. So I would recommend if anybody has a chance to go and do that, to do it, because this is definitely a movie worth seeing on the big screen. It's a really beautiful movie. And to your point before about how difficult it is to film Flannery's stories, the way that they achieve it in this movie is it's a biopic, but only partly a biopic. So it's a movie about Flannery, but it's also a movie that interweaves some of Flannery's stories with Flannery's life. And Flannery, Maya Hawke, who plays Flannery, also plays the female protagonist in the stories. So like in Good Country People, for example, which is the one famously, not to give anything away, but it's about a kind of intellectual young woman with a fake leg. She plays that character in addition to playing Flannery, the author of that character, right? And her mother, who's played by Laura Linney, also plays kind of the mother character in the short stories as they're filmed. So I think it's really genius because, you know, it's a way to present to an audience a bunch of Flannery's best short stories, but then also tell the story of Flannery's life, all of which, by the way, in my opinion, totally does justice to her deep Catholic faith. Without making it sappy, without making it sappy or saccharine or anything like that. I mean, it really makes it clear that she believed deeply. And the tumult that she experienced was she really didn't know whether she could tell the stories that she wanted to tell and still be considered a good Catholic.
Oh, really?
So she's kind of struggling with that in the movie, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said not saccharine or sappy because I think that would deeply offend Flannery O'Connor if you portrayed her faith as something sappy or saccharine. I think she's, and you'll excuse the language, but I think she's most famous about proclaiming her Catholic faith by saying, if it's not really Jesus, then the hell with it. And I think she was tough. She had a tough mind. She was not, she wasn't sappy or saccharine.
Yeah, there's a part in the movie, actually during that scene, there's a great kind of sequence in the movie that takes place in the home of her writing teacher at Iowa, where she studied writing. And there are all these, all these aspiring writers there. They're all intellectuals. And this is where they set that famous conversation. I'm not actually sure if that's precisely where it did happen in reality, but that's where it happens in the movie, where she says, if it's just a symbol, then to hell with it, about the Holy Eucharist.
Oh, yeah.
But she also says, during that conversation, she says things like, I prefer not to tidy up reality. Things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's Flannery O'Connor. Wow.
Yeah. But then, too, Sally, when she gets back to Georgia and she's talking to her, like her family and friends back in Georgia just don't understand why she wants to write all this dark, creepy stuff. And they say things like, why don't you write nice stories like Gone with the Wind? Right? And she just is having none of that. She wants to tell a completely different kind of story.
Yeah, yeah. And my understanding, Ethan Hawke has made some films that are that grapple with religion in a mature way, and God bless him for it, because there are very few people in that world that seem willing to do that. People almost have to be from outside of that world to do it. And I don't know if the word is Hollywood or what you would call that world, but I just think he should be congratulated and supported if he's going to grapple with religion in serious ways in film.
Absolutely. He's really done us a service, because unfortunately, Si, a lot of movies that are that in some respects get the faith part right are not maybe artistically sophisticated enough. They're a little too facile, a little bit too simple sometimes. And Ethan Hawke he's hit both both targets. Like he has created a film that is very good for people to watch if they want to be strengthened in their faith, but also a movie that is complex and that, deals with kind of the nature of humanity and reality in a way that we need to face. And that's true to Flannery, right? I mean, that's what Flannery was all about. Yeah, Ethan Hawke and Maya, his daughter, have both said in interviews about this movie, Wildcat, that even though I don't think either one of them is Catholic, I'm not really sure if either one would even identify as Christian. I'm not really sure about that. But both of them have said that reading Flannery has so far in their lives, for both of them, been very important in their religious journey, whatever that may be. So, hey, let's just hope that journey continues, right?
So Wildcat is one you'd say go see. You thought
Absolutely.
They pulled it off. Well, good for them. We'll talk more about summer movies. Andrew Petiprin is our guest. And what a nice way to spend Memorial Day afternoon, talking about movies with Andrew Petiprin and eating hot dogs. Darren, run out and get some hot dogs. I don't have any in here. All right back.
Why We're Catholic is the one book you can hand to anyone to invite them into or back to the Catholic faith. With more than 400,000 copies sold, Trent Horn's book has had a #1 ranking on Amazon.com for 5 years running. Now available in softcover, bulk cases, ebook, and on Audible. Find out what the excitement is all about. Order your copies of Why We're Catholic at shop.catholic.com or visit whywearecatholic.com.
When the resurrected Jesus appeared to disciples on the road to Emmaus, they didn't recognize him until the breaking of the bread. The same is true today. In the Holy Eucharist, we really meet Jesus. In The Eucharist is Really Jesus, author Joe Heschmeyer explains how knowing Jesus in the Eucharist is the key to understanding all of Christian faith. Order your copy of The Eucharist is Really Jesus today at shop.catholic.com or get it at a good Catholic bookstore.
If you're not a Bible scholar, the full message of how the Sunday Mass readings fit together can be tough to comprehend. Apologist Carlo Broussard is here to help. Join Carlo every Friday for the Sunday Catholic Word podcast. In each episode, he unpacks the scripture readings for that Sunday and brings them all together so you can better understand and defend the faith. Visit SundayCatholicWord.com to subscribe. That's SundayCatholicWord.com.
Are you scared to talk about abortion? Don't worry, almost everyone is. You can overcome this fear as Trent Horn shows in the newly revised and expanded second edition of Persuasive Pro-Life. With a little knowledge and a few proven techniques, you can become a bold and effective apologist for life. Visit shop.catholic.com to order your copy of Persuasive Pro-Life and never again be afraid to speak up. Also available at good Catholic bookstores. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, and a happy Memorial Day to everybody here in the U.S. And if you're listening around the world, this is a holiday here in the United States, and usually kind of signals the beginning of summer. The kids know school is out soon, and although I don't even know if we do that, do we have summer vacation anymore? I don't know how school works in America anymore. It just seems, look, this is the way I believe that the Lord intended school to work. You get out for the summer. Now, I'm obviously an old man, and maybe I'm just a cranky old man, but you're supposed to get out for the summer. I don't know what all you people are doing with all these going to. You get out in June, you go back in September. That's how school works. What's the matter, America? How did we forget this? Andrew, at least you're nodding your head in agreement with me.
I agree completely. We don't have an adequate appreciation for the benefits of leisure anymore.
Yes.
We need to recover that.
I don't think the summer months of digging in the sand and hunting crabs and all that stuff that I spent as a child are wasted at all. I believe those are the times that form the soul. That the soul is formed by the sunshine and the wind and the water and animals and all. Just get outside, do things, and I don't. We're too busy, and kids. This addiction to you got to well, what are our benchmarks for the summer? How about we not have any benchmarks for the summer? How about we just not have any and see how that goes?
Yeah, I agree. And plus, when are you going to watch all the movies? You need the summer for that too.
Oh yeah. Well, all right. I'm going to put you on the spot here then, because young people under the age of 30. I want you to think about young people under the age of 30, maybe teenagers, people in their 20s, maybe even younger than that. I think they see a film in black and white and they think it's not for them. So I didn't prepare you for this. But I want to ask you, if you said to them this summer, watch one film before the age of color. Pick a film before the age of color for young people to watch, where they can see that before all the explosions and the graphics and the CGI, there were things worth watching in movies. Can you pick a before the age of color movie for them to watch?
Well, I would pick something really funny probably to start. There are so many great classic comedies from the black and white era. I would pick maybe like a Marx Brothers movie, like A Night at the Opera or Duck Soup, and put that on. But and then get into more serious stuff maybe. But yeah, I mean, what's the problem with black and white? I don't understand the objection that people they just think it's not for them.
My wife tried to. I remember when our kids were little, she said she wanted them to watch Lassie. Because Lassie's something we watch. So they were horrified that she had the thought they should watch something with no color in it. Well, maybe I'm talking out of school about my children, but they felt that color was a basic human right, and that this was somehow a violation of their basic human rights to have to watch Lassie. All right, but there's another problem, though, with the Marx Brothers movies for young people today. They're very verbal, and I don't know if young people are comfortable with that much. Do you see what I'm saying? If you don't like language, if you don't like words, you're going to have a hard time with Groucho Marx.
Yeah, you're probably right. But there's so many, I don't know, there's just so much to look at. So many, whether it's Harpo's hair or, just Chico doing ridiculous things or people falling down or, there's all kinds of stuff to look at in Marx Brothers movies that I think it would draw people in. But you're absolutely right, especially Groucho. I mean, and maybe that's all the more reason why we need to kind of get young people hooked on things like that, because boy, we need a better appreciation of the richness of language and language as I like to talk a lot about how we want words that convey the word, and movies at their best are able to do that, to have the word with a capital W in the stories.
So Duck Soup for the kids this summer, if the family decides, because Duck Soup is one where you can pop the popcorn, sit down and watch it and enjoy it as a family. It's funny that I said that about language now that I'm thinking about it, when one of the three Marx Brothers never says a word. I don't know why I went with. By the way, I don't like to correct people on air, but you are a film sophisticate, and you made a horrible error, Andrew.
Oh no!
You just made a horror. Chico.
Oh, Chico! Right. You're right.
We would say Chico, but they said Chico. His name is Chico Marx.
You're absolutely right, Chico, and. Yes, Chico, but I do know that Groucho's mustache is actually magic markered on his face. You can't tell from a distance, but it's actually not his real big mustache.
And Dumont, what was her name? The woman that was always the foil for them.
Yes.
Margaret Dumont, I think.
Yeah.
And the funny thing when you watch the movies is apparently Margaret Dumont actually didn't know why the Marx Brothers were funny. She was one of the people who didn't get it. She was like, I don't know what all this is about. What's going on here? So she was kind of typecast maybe. All right, let's talk about summer movies. First of all, are there any summer movies you're looking forward to this year? You're like, I can't wait. There's the new fill in the blank coming out.
Well, there's nothing I'm super excited about, Si. I think I probably will see Furiosa, the Mad Max, the new Mad Max movie. Yeah,
that's the last movie I thought you were going to pick.
Really?
Yes. Tell me about that.
I am a big fan. I'm not. I don't have high hopes for this particular movie actually, but I am a big fan of the original Mad Max movies. For anybody who hasn't seen them, they're these dystopian movies directed by George Miller, an Australian director, starring Mel Gibson, the original three. The first one is called Mad Max, the second one is called Road Warrior, and the third one is called Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. They're kind of 80s classics, and they are, in my opinion, just extremely well made. They tell really good stories about kind of one man's journey. It's kind of, it's a redemption story. It's also kind of a, there are these little notes of grace amid amid a landscape of despair. I think it tells a really good story that even Christians can look to and find some inspiration from.
Our COO, I will tell you, here in the building, John Sorensen, says Beyond Thunderdome is the greatest movie ever made. He loves. Now, I might be putting words in his mouth. He may not have said greatest movie, but it's definitely in the top.
That's the one that's got Master Blaster, Master Blaster, and Tina Turner's in that one.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk to John about that. But recently there was, several years ago, about a decade ago or more, there was a new Mad Max movie, Fury Road, which I thought was also really excellent. I thought it was very good. But there's this new one. They're just going to keep going, and so far so good with this franchise. But they're going to do another one starring Anya Taylor-Joy, who is generally an actress that I like pretty well. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think they're going to they're going to run out of gas eventually. Actually,
running out of gas is one of the themes.
The search for gas is one of the themes of the movie. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, let me just push back on you a little bit, because I don't understand this. I mean, the original Mad Max, leave them aside. Those are different things. But this recent movie that they made, and people talked about how great the movie was, what was great about it? Like, just explain to me what was great about it, because it was a movie about driving, basically, and trying to kill each other while driving. I don't get it. I don't get what's great about it.
Well, I mean, all of them are about driving to some degree, but this one kind of takes it to a whole new level. And I love it because it makes us think about these, sort of vying, imagining ourselves in kind of the worst case scenario, with something horrible happening to the world. How would we get on? How would we get on with things? And so each of the Mad Max movies sort of tells a story in that vein. Fury Road being the first one that isn't just about Max himself kind of, finding himself in a situation where he can move from one place to another, helping one group and then disappearing again. That's basically his MO before that. But, and in this one, in the last one, the Fury Road, the problem is water. As much as gasoline, and there we I don't know. It spurs contemplation, I think, about what matters in life. But I don't know if the new one is going to hit the same notes. We'll see.
All right, fair enough. But when you look ahead and you see these lists of the movies that are coming out, you're not looking at the summer with much excitement.
Not really, Cy. No, I mean most of the new stuff that comes out, at least that airs, that goes to the theaters, is sequels, reboots, stuff like that. Which, it's okay sometimes, but I think we're getting a little thin now. But I don't know. Were there any that stood out to you? I'm actually trying to remember what the list is for this summer.
I honestly, there's nothing. Yeah, you're right. Like, I don't have. I remember for the winter, I was really looking forward to Dune 2, the sequel. Yeah. And there's nothing like that this summer. Nothing like that. I think a lot of people will be looking forward to Wolverine and Deadpool because these are two beloved characters. But I'm one of those people that likes superhero movies, but I've had enough. Mm-hmm. They've defeated me. I no more superhero movies. I can't take it anymore. Just make a regular movie. Make something normal.
I hope that Hollywood is starting to hear that from more and more people nowadays. I think we've kind of reached the end of the road with superhero movies essentially being the movie industry. I think maybe it's time to try something else. Tell more human stories again, and let's see if people will give them a try.
Yeah, and there were, I think Robert Downey Jr. is one of the greatest actors in the world, and that when that first Iron Man came out, that it was brilliant. Jon Favreau was a brilliant director. The whole thing was, and then we spent 20 years addicted to that. It's like Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau just ruined 20 years for us.
Yeah, I think, and you're absolutely right about Robert Downey Jr. I think he's an absolutely fantastic actor, and he rightly was rewarded for the role that he played in last summer's blockbuster Oppenheimer,
Oh, I know.
which to me was just a return. I mean, I found myself thinking, I really wish Robert Downey Jr. hadn't given his prime to playing Iron Man 15 times or however many times, you know. I mean, it was fine. I loved the first couple Iron Man movies, but after a while, I kind of felt sad for Robert Downey Jr. Like I really would have loved to see him spend the best years of his career playing better roles, but you know, so it goes.
Yeah, he's a billionaire, so don't feel too bad for him.
He's fine.
He's
doing
happy. Okay. Robert Downey Jr. is doing okay. But like even back to Chaplin, I loved him in Chaplin, and I think that was before all this. I thought this. I mean, physically, there are that kind of use of the body that Chaplin was capable of. There's not many actors that can do that, and I thought Robert Downey was just brilliant doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think he really is one of the great talents of his generation.
All right, we'll talk about some movies we should watch this summer then, and we'll go into the vaults because since Hollywood is apparently not going to give us great movies coming out, we'll go into the vaults and talk about some things that you should put on. Everybody's got a TV that's as big as a movie screen nowadays. Some people have TVs as big as the movie screen in their car. That's I don't know what that says about our culture, but like you look in some of these cars you're passing, and you're like, how much? I'll buy a ticket, drive me around, and I'll watch movies in your car. But let's see what with the families and folks might get out for this summer that'll bring real pleasure to the family and real viewing value while you're munching that popcorn right after this with Andrew Petiprin on Catholic Answers Live.
This is Archbishop Paul Coakley, the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, and you're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Who was the first Catholic in your family? Were they evangelized by a friend, a coworker, a stranger? Did you ever think that you could be that person that God uses to save a soul, and that soul could save their family, their grandchildren, and generations to come? At St. Paul Street Evangelization, a Catholic nonprofit, we train, equip, and mobilize Catholic disciples to do the urgent work of evangelization. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization, streetevangelization.com.
This is Jim Pinto, Director of EWTN Media Missionaries. EWTN Media Missionaries prayerfully take EWTN to parishes and the community through the print and electronic media we provide. You can help EWTN share the good news by becoming a media missionary. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com today and join us in sharing the eternal word with the world.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Our guest is Andrew Petiprin. This hour and next, we're talking movies because it's the beginning of the summer movie season here in the U.S. and around the world, even though I know it's not summer everywhere. Some places, I don't know if you know this, Andrew. I don't know if you know how geography works, but in some places, it's winter now, not summer. We're coming into the winter.
Down in the southern hemisphere,
yeah.
I'm told.
Oh, you are good. Yeah,
I've never been to these far-flung places.
I didn't know you were a trained scientist, but okay, yeah. But I guess I don't know. I never asked it when I was in Australia. Like, do they call it the winter movie season? Like, but they got to get all the same movies we get. So we're coming into the winter movie season down there. So we're going to talk about some movies. And Andrew Petiprin, I've already introduced him, but you should check out the Spe Salvi Institute. You just put Spe Salvi. And I'm interested in why Spe Salvi is my favorite. I don't know if you're supposed to have favorite papal encyclicals, but it's my favorite papal encyclical of all time. I love Spe Salvi. So why what's the Spe Salvi Institute? Why did you start that?
Yeah, thanks for asking about it. So the Spe Salvi is also certainly among my favorite papal encyclicals also. And it's a great encyclical by Benedict XVI. It's on hope. Spe Salvi means saved in hope. And hope was one of the great themes that ran throughout Pope Benedict's writings and was a theme that he explored a lot in his pontificate. A colleague of mine and friend, Robert Mixa, he and I decided to start this little venture called the Spe Salvi Institute precisely because we were inspired by the vision of hope that Pope Benedict lays out in that encyclical, basically not asking us to be Pollyanna-ish, not asking us to be just sort of blithely optimistic. We can be negative about negative things that are going on in the world. We don't want to wear blinders or pretend that things are good when they're not. But we are ultimately living with the goal of heaven, which therefore then informs life in this, life on this side. And that means that we create, that we appreciate, that we enjoy the blessings that God has given to us. And so we wanted to start this little venture. We have a website, we have a podcast. We're going to be starting to do some in-person events, maybe some conferences in due course, where we explore not only the virtue of hope, but we talk a lot about art, we talk about cinema, we talk about a little bit about politics, a little bit about culture, a bit of this, a bit of that. But what we're really interested in is Christian civilization, Christian society. The idea, maybe we could resurrect that idea. We're not giving up on it.
Praise God. Yeah, don't give up on it. All right, so give us some summer movies. Let's start with baseball. Baseball is the summer sport here in the United States. Any good baseball movies we should watch this summer?
There's so many good baseball movies, and there are different camps about baseball movies. I don't know where you fall. Some people really,
all of them except the Kevin Costner ones. Come on, Kevin. How many baseball movies can you make? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That's not true. Go ahead. I don't. What are the camps?
Well, no. Well, you've actually named one of the camps. There are people for whom Field of Dreams is the ultimate baseball movie. Now, I like Field of Dreams a lot. I think it's a really great baseball movie. Is it my favorite baseball movie? No. I think it's definitely worth watching. It's a great summer movie. Check it out. I happen to like The Natural quite a lot. That's Robert Redford playing a kind of aging rookie ball player. It's got a little bit of a dark side, a little bit of an edge, but it's got the great scene at the end where, well, I won't give it away, but it has to do with a bat and a special bat. Anyway, I really love that one. But my favorite baseball movie, honestly, is The Sandlot from 1993. Do you know that one, Cy?
It's a genius movie because I don't want to step on you, but it captures childhood summer as well as baseball, both of them perfectly.
Yeah, that is why it's so beautiful. It's a kids movie. It's a kids adventure movie. There aren't enough of those. I don't know if you remember, there used to be lots of kids adventure movies. There was E.T., there was The Goonies. I may have talked to you about this on your show before, but
no, I don't think so. That's a good point, though. Kids out there exploring for themselves.
Solving problems on their own, not running home to their parents, right? I mean, and sometimes, like in The Goonies, for example, saving their town, right? And there's a similar thing that kind of happens in The Sandlot. They don't save their town, but they get themselves into a pickle, actually, to use a baseball analogy there. They use that throughout the movie, and they have to get themselves out of it. And it's just a wonderful movie about growing up, about boys being boys, about kind of exploring, adolescence and, all the kind of hardships and all the kind of joys that come out just by like hanging out. You talked before about summer, like where has summer gone? When you watch that movie, it seems like the kind of thing that lasted forever. And then suddenly it was over and you just couldn't even believe it. It was such a drag, right?
Yes. Yeah. The horror of back to school shopping. Really?
Yeah.
We're doing this now? I have to get clothes? So The Sandlot is one that a family could watch now. They could put that on with the kids and have a great night watching The Sandlot. And it's not just another superhero movie. The Natural. So Field of Dreams, what is it that you don't like Field of Dreams, or you just don't?
Oh, no, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. To me, though, it's touching for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't love, what's the name of the actress who plays Kevin Costner's wife in that movie? I don't love her. I don't want to make this about individual actors and actresses, but there are a few flaws in that movie, in my humble opinion. But the part at the end, I don't know about you, Cy. I lost my father. He died last year, and I, when I think about the kind of the scene where Kevin Costner's character kind of gets to play catch with his dad again.
Yeah.
Those of us who have lost a parent, like what we wouldn't give to like have another opportunity to kind of have that bonding experience again. It's really wonderful and touching. But is it my all-time favorite baseball movie? No. I think to me, like something like The Sandlot is just so much fun. Another one is A League of Their Own. I don't know if you've seen that one about the girls baseball team.
There's no crying in baseball. Yes.
I say that to my kids all the time.
I
And
think
like
I think that's the high point of Rosie O'Donnell's career too. I think she's
by
fantastic, fantastic in it.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks, of course, as the kind of, crotchety manager of the ball club. But it's fun. John Lovitz is in it. There's a lot of fun in that movie. So to me, that says summer. Fun, baseball. Love it.
And we've got the Olympics coming up.
Yeah.
Any movies for the Olympics?
Well, the all-time great movie is Chariots of Fire, of course. Now, that one isn't fun in the same way as The Sandlot, but for my money, that's a movie I could watch every day, any time of year.
Really?
But I love Chariots of Fire. I love it. To me, it's a beautiful movie. We've got the familiar soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's the characters are so well drawn. I think the character of Eric Liddell and the character of Harold Abrams are just two like flip sides of the same coin of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
There's the striver, Harold Abrams, the man whose whole existence is defined by his success. And then there's Eric Liddell, who does everything because he can't help it, because God gave him the gift and he wants to use it. He can't not use it. And both of them grow and change throughout the course of the movie. But it's the one I just have always identified with those two characters, and I just love that movie so much. But it's a great summer movie because it's set during the Olympics. And funnily enough, though, Cy, like the Olympics is something that I used to always look forward to when I was younger. It just seemed like it defined like every fourth year. It was like, oh, is this an Olympic summer? It's like now I feel that way about the World Cup. Like, oh, is this a World Cup summer? Because I love soccer. But I don't really follow the Olympics anymore. I don't know, but there was a time when we did.
There was a time when the Olympics was a big deal, and I think the image is tarnished. And there's been a lot of controversies about the Olympics. There's been a lot of cities that hosted the Olympics that were profoundly hurt by, like, they just end up in terrible financial trouble, and the whole thing started to have the slight stench of a scam to it.
Yeah, well, the old kind of cult of the amateur seems to have disappeared. It's all just it's all kind of cheapened now.
Yeah. Any other sports movies for summer?
Let me think. I love Breaking Away. It's a great movie about cycling, of all things. A bunch of kids in a small town in Indiana, who get addicted to riding bikes.
Chris Check probably tells me twice or 3 times a year I have to watch Breaking Away, and I still have not watched it. He's the boss here. And have you watched Breaking Away? And I still have not watched it. It's worth it. Because I'll believe you. I don't really believe Chris.
I love Breaking Away. It's another great kind of coming of age movie, summertime. Like, what do we do with our spare time? Let's ride bikes and just explore our town. It's great. Yeah, I love that one. I love The Karate Kid. That's not strictly speaking a summer movie, but some of it takes place during the summer. But it's a movie that for some reason I identify with summertime. Just a kid trying to make his way in the world, finding something to do.
Yeah.
Karate.
I'm trying to remember I do. I mean, everybody remembers the standing on one leg thing, but I remember liking that movie, but I don't know if it made too much of an impression on me.
Oh man, maybe it was just my age when it came out or something, but I remember just as a little kid watching that movie and loving it. And I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and it's a movie about a kid who moves from the East Coast to the West Coast and doesn't know anybody out there, and he gets kind of bullied at school, and he has a lot of problems, but he meets this old man, Mr. Miyagi, and he finds his purpose, he finds his meaning, he finds something that he can do with himself. It's a nice coming of age story.
Oh, all right. I have to say, and I don't know if it's on your list of summer movies. Maybe because I'm older than you, the movie that gets me like that is Jaws. Not just as a shark movie, but as a movie that, again, it's like Sandlot to me. There's 2 themes of Sandlot: baseball and summer, and there's 2 themes of Jaws: the shark and American summer. What it's like to have the summer off.
Jaws might be, if you Google a list, best summer movies, Jaws is going to be at the top of most of those, and rightly so. That is a great, great summer movie.
That director, I think he's got talent. I think he shows something in that movie. You look at that and you go, well, there's something different. He really pulled something off there. Maybe we'll see more from him in the future. We got to take a very quick break. We're going to continue talking about summer movies. We got a lot more. We've got faith movies to talk about, movies for young people, some classics to talk about. And then a couple of your favorite directors. We'll talk about Alfred Hitchcock and a man I am not very familiar with, Eric Romer?
Eric Romer, yes.
Eric Romer. All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Chico. We will be right back with more Catholic Answers Live, talking movies with Andrew Petiprin right after this. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Our guest is Andrew Petiprin, the founder and editor of the Spe Salvi Institute, and a real movie guy, a former Episcopal priest, now a Catholic for the last 5 years, Catholic, and he's one of the authors of the book Popcorn with the Pope, A Guide to the Vatican Film List. And he's the sole author of Truth Matters, Knowing God and Yourself. And he just does a lot of media of various sorts related to film and movies. I don't know, are those the same thing or are those two different things? Like a film sounds like something that Fellini made, and movies sounds like, I don't know, something that Marvel makes. But I don't know if those, maybe they're the same thing. But we're talking a bit about summer movies because it's Memorial Day. Memorial Day, perfect day to start talking about this. What to watch this summer, what films to undertake, what's worth watching, what's worth missing. And in the first hour, we talked a bit about the Flannery O'Connor movie Wildcat from Ethan Hawke and his daughter Maya Hawke, and that got a good review. So as far as upcoming movies that might be coming to where you are, check out Wildcat. We mentioned Dune too. Did you like the Dune movies?
I did, yeah. I thought they were very good. I guess there's going to be another one, so we'll see. But yeah, I think terrific cast. I think, for all of the poverty of a lot of the big blockbuster movies, there are some really good actors working. I think Timothée Chalamet is a very good actor, and good, yeah. I think some of the other cast members, Austin Butler was in the Dune sequel. I think he's excellent. He played Elvis. We talked about Elvis actually the last time I was on your show. He played Elvis.
He killed it as Elvis.
I love that.
He did a great job. Is that a Baz Luhrmann movie?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, tell me this. Why am I a fan of Baz Luhrmann? Like they're these crazy bright
Australia?
lights, wild films. They're just outrageous, and I love them.
I love them too. Yeah, I love him too. He's got quite an eye. He makes really big movies, and they're not all fantastic, but most of them are. I like them a lot. Moulin Rouge, Australia, good stuff.
Wait, I never saw the movie Australia. There's actually a movie called Australia,
and
it's good.
It's pretty good.
All right, I'll watch that.
Not one of his all-time best, but it is, quite good.
All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. Some faith. We'll start with this hour with some faith movies to watch for the summer because it's a Catholic radio show, and you just can't be doing all baseball and sports movies for the summer. And there are some good faith movies. I will tell you, Darren, at the break. I'm going to call you out now. Darren was telling us about before you were Catholic. You just by accident came upon the movie The Passion of Joan of Arc, and you were totally blown away. This is how Darren talks on the air. He says things off the air, and then I have to repeat them because he doesn't like to talk on the microphone. Do you want to talk on the microphone? You want to talk about it? He said no, he doesn't. But isn't that's so cool when especially with a faith movie, like something, I think there are faith movies that capture. I think that's kind of one of the things that we would want for them, actually, that capture people who are not on the team already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I stick up for The Passion of Joan of Arc since you brought it up?
Yeah.
So you asked before about what black and white movie I would recommend for a kid or for somebody who thought they didn't like black and white movies. The Passion of Joan of Arc is a silent movie from 1928, and it is one of the most visually stunning things you will ever watch. So that is by far the movie that I would pick if somebody said, there's no way I'm going to like a silent movie. I would say, please watch this. Watch The Passion of Joan of Arc. It's actually on the Vatican Film List. I wrote about it in the book, so you can get my take on it in the book if you want to. But it's a beautiful, beautiful movie. Why not watch it this summer? I mean, I guess it's kind of morbid, but Joan of Arc was, condemned to the stake right around this time of year in the year 1431, May, I believe. So I don't know. I guess it's summary in that way. But
wait,
really good movie.
Did you just propose The Passion of Joan of Arc as a summer movie?
Why not?
That seems like an odd way to sell it, but yeah. But well, the one thing that it's summer, you've got the time. Enjoy some things that you don't usually get to enjoy, and this is a work of art, The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Yeah, it's directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer, Danish, not Catholic, but made a beautiful movie about one of our great saints.
All right. So you got any other good faith movies to watch this summer?
Okay, well, I'm going to recommend another one off the Vatican film list, which is called The Flowers of St. Francis. Have you ever seen this one?
I know I've seen part of it. I can't remember if I've ever seen the whole thing.
Well, it's from 1950.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, not a recent one.
No,
But,
I remember the part about the the stripping and all that, but I don't remember if I've seen the whole movie, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, it's excellent. I mean, it's a wonderful movie about St. Francis and his companions. Brother Junipero is actually just as much a star of the movie as Francis himself. But it's a series of vignettes, actually. It's several different stories that are knit together, and they were made by Roberto Rossellini, who's a great Italian filmmaker, and he wanted to make it kind of in response to Europe's recovery from World War II.
Oh,
he
okay.
he was kind of trying to make a movie that proposed something better than the era of strongmen and fascism and all that kind of stuff. And so he turned to St. Francis and wanted to make this beautiful movie. I think it's summery because it's set in rural Italy, and it's very sunny. It is in black and white, but it's warm weather throughout, and they're running all around the Italian countryside and stuff like that. The whole family can watch this movie. It is in black and white, but it is funny. It is charming. It's sweet.
Oh.
Highly recommend it. Good summer viewing if you're looking for something for an evening with the family.
The Flowers of St. Francis from 1950. It was 1950, a good year for film. There were some. I only know that because Harvey, the movie that I just watched, was nice, and I was told did like Darren did, where it was just coming on when I turned on the television and I watched the whole thing. I loved Harvey. Harvey was a good movie from 1950.
I recommend that one. Yes.
Okay, so you got any other faith movies? Did you like Apocalypto, by the way?
I love Apocalypto. I would recommend Apocalypto. I think it could be a summer movie. Why not?
I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Love it.
And I think it's a faith movie. I think it fits in the faith movie category, but it's not. It's subtly a faith movie. It's it's about good people who get terrorized by this horrible, vicious state. And then there's just a hint of a possible salvation from that whole cycle of violence. But I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. I really do. People get mad when I say this, but I am much more taken by it than by The Passion of the Christ.
I much prefer it to The Passion of the Christ personally. I think The Passion of the Christ is a monumental achievement. It's a brilliant movie, but Apocalypto is a movie that I'll go back to many, many more times in my life. It's I think a really very well done story.
Okay, have you got any other faith movies for me, or are we moving on from faith now?
Well, one more that I think is summery, because again, I mean, any movie that's kind of set outside where it's sunny, just sue me, but I think I equate that with summer movies. Whereas movies that are kind of like urban and rainy or snowy or whatever, I don't want to watch those as much in the summertime. But here's one that I consider a summer movie, and it's the movie called Fatima. I don't know if you've seen that, but definitely a faith movie written by Barbara Nicolosi. Really terrific screen. She wrote a wonderful script for that, and my children watched it actually early on in our time as Catholics, and they really enjoyed it and were really captivated by the story of the children and the miracle of the Son. So yeah, highly recommend that one. Watch
That's a relatively recent movie, though, right? You're not talking. This is not an old movie.
Nope, 2021. So mix in a new one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. We're talking summer movies that you can watch this summer. We've already gotten from Andrew Petiprin the admission or the accusation. I don't know what it is, but the statement that it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of great movies in the theater this summer. And it's fun to go to the theater and watch a movie, and it would be great if there were great movies. The last one I went to was Dune, and because I thought you should see that on the big screen, and it was worth it. I loved seeing it on the big screen. But if they're not there, they're not there. So what about some other movies we can watch? And that's what we're covering this hour with Andrew Petiprin. We'll come back with more summer movie suggestions on this Memorial Day here in the U.S. right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
Miss a show? Make sure to catch up by downloading the podcast, available online at Catholic.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Magnificat. Published monthly, Magnificat features texts of daily Mass, prayers, articles, meditations, art commentaries, and more, in step with the liturgical rhythm of the Church, on the web at magnificat.com.
Hi, this is Father Daniel Brandenburg from the Legionaries of Christ. Now, I don't know about you, but I am a sinner, and I need to go to confession. Sometimes people think that priests don't need to go to confession, but that's not the case at all. Priests are sinners just like you and me. We need God's grace. We are all falling short of what God calls us to. And confession not only wipes away our sins, but it also gives us actual grace. So I encourage you all to make a good confession, to trust in the Lord, and to grow in His grace. God bless you.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. We're talking about summer movies to watch this summer for the family. Maybe we'll get some that are just for adults, but we'll cover both. But all the best conversation seems to be happening at the break. Oh, you're turning that mic on, Darren. Tell us. Look, here's what we were talking about was you want to go to the theater to see a movie. You want to share it with other people. You want to have that experience and see it on the big screen and the great audio and all that, which many people have in their house now, but it's not the same. Go out in public, it's a public event, the viewing of a movie. And there's some value to that. And so if there's not good ones to watch this summer, what was the point that was coming up in the conversation during the break, which should have happened on the air, but my guest and my producer decided to have these great conversations, as there are things that you can go out and watch movies, even if there's not good movies out this summer. There's good opportunities to go out and watch movies. So tell us about what happens here in San Diego, Darren, and I'm sure it happens in other cities.
Yeah, the San Diego Symphony will have screenings of old movies, but they'll be playing the soundtrack live.
And that's like outdoors.
They
right?
have outdoor, they have indoor.
Oh, yeah. They do both.
Yeah, and we saw Back to the Future a few years ago, and it was so fun. Just everybody in the room and the symphony actually playing.
Yeah, and there's a great movie, Back to the Future. I believe Quentin Tarantino famously called it the perfect movie. So then you get the live music. You're out with people. It's a social event. It's not just stuck in the house for another.
Yeah, the whole crowd's laughing at the funny parts.
Yeah, and I feel like my wife would stay awake for the whole movie for once if we did that, if we were out. And then thanks, Darren, for actually using the microphone. And then Andrew, you were saying there's another way to go out to the movies and enjoy a social evening at the movies with other people, even when there's no good movies out.
Yeah, well, there's this one company, there are probably many, but there's the major one is called Fathom Events, and they put on to the big screen old movies. You just kind of have to know, you can subscribe, like check them out online or whatever. But my wife is a keen observer of when the old movies are going to come play on the big screen. So like my family just went to see, now they're not all old, but like we just went to see Shrek 2, for example, on the big screen, like fun family family time. We went to see The Great Muppet Caper on the big screen a couple of years ago. We've seen, more adult things too. Like we were talking a moment ago about Lawrence of Arabia. We saw that on the big screen. So you can go to the movies and see things. You just kind of have to know where to look.
Yeah, and that's these theaters have these. Now the theaters have 14 theaters or 91 theaters or something. And so often one of them will be showing something that's not a current movie. And the kids haven't seen Shrek 2 in the theater. This is a brand new experience for them to go see Shrek 2 in the theater. Yeah. All right. So how about we go through some more movies? Maybe some movies for young people or about young people, about the young experience. We talked about there is just something about the summer movie, the movie that comes out in the summer that also depicts the summer. The people in the movie have the same sunburn you have sitting in the seat watching the movie. Sandlot is one of those. Jaws is one of those. But it's young people want to go to the movie. So do we have some young people stuff?
Yeah. Well, Well, a movie that I love about young people in the summertime is Stand By Me. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but I love that one. My kids have seen it, by the way. It has a couple of little rough spots in it, but I really would, with discretion, recommend that families show it to kind of their, adolescent kids, if they feel so moved. I have with mine.
Do you mean rough spots as far as language or
Yeah, a little bit of language.
Yeah.
And the central kind of theme in the movie is there's this dead body that the kids are sort of trying to go and find. So there's a little bit of kind of rough stuff. There's this gang, and there's a couple things like that, but
okay.
Nothing too crazy. Definitely some language.
Kids
But
can
to
often
me-
handle more than, I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like we ask too much of kids, like all the light shows and the constant, that we take them to, these super sensory experiences might actually be worse for them than a movie that is at a slower pace, has a story to it, and that has a little bit of rough language in it or something. I actually think sometimes we're misguided in what we're protecting children from. They can handle more in some ways, and in other ways we're asking too much of them, like making every movie a laser light show that just overwhelms the senses.
I think that's a great point. I find myself having to cover my bases a little bit, because every once in a while I'll recommend something and someone will send me a nasty message that it had a bad word in it and I shouldn't have mentioned it. But, so it goes. I mean, life is messy and we try our best. But Stand By Me is one that I think is worth it. I think it's a wonderful coming of age movie. And, it's full of young guys who ended up becoming pretty famous in their own right. Corey Feldman and Will Wheaton and a number of other kind of child stars who went on to be in a lot more things. So really, really good movie, coming of age movie.
All right, anything else? What else you got in the youths category?
Well, let me increase my age range up to more like kind of late teens, maybe kind of college age kids. Now, the classic movie, the kind of classic summer movie that's supposed to be about the kind of, what am I supposed to do with my life college age kid, is The Graduate, that movie, The Graduate. Now, The Graduate has certain things to commend it, but it isn't really one of my favorite movies. I come away from that movie feeling kind of depressed, to be honest. It doesn't speak deeply to me. But a movie that does, that is more recent than The Graduate, but still somewhat in the past, features none other than Ethan Hawke, whom we mentioned before.
Oh, okay.
And it's a movie from 1995, directed by Richard Linklater, the Texan filmmaker, and it's called Before Sunrise. It's a movie about an American college student and a French college student, American man, played by Ethan Hawke, and a French woman, played by Julie Delpy. And they meet up by happenstance on a train, and they explore the city of Vienna together for one day. And it's just a kind of beautiful story about two lives coming together, young people trying to figure out what to make of the world, and they have all these great conversations, and then they part. Now, they made two more movies in recent years that complete a whole trilogy, but that very first one to me is just a beautiful summer movie, coming of age movie, and I recommend that to people much more than a movie like The Graduate.
Before Sunrise, I had heard of it. I've never seen it. Okay, Before Sunrise, I'll look for that one. And Stand By Me kind of seems like one that the Fathom Events people might do. That seems like one you might be able to take the family to the theater for if you feel that is appropriate for your family. I mean, I mean, there is a line between, and I don't know where the line is, between being cautious and careful and being prudish. And I feel like I locate the line at a place where I think not all listeners are comfortable with. So my prejudice there is that I like, there's great, like, read Dante. There's nasty stuff in there. Mm-hmm. Like, people can handle it if it's, especially if it's. Okay, let me give you an example of this, because I want to talk in a concrete way about this. The movie Father Stu, full of vulgar language, all of which I thought perfectly fit the story fine. I had no problem with. Like, not at one point thought, oh, that's too much of this. I come out of the theater and people were saying to me that, well, I really could have done without the language. And I didn't share their feeling. I didn't share their feeling at all. So correct me if I'm wrong about that, because I'm happy to be corrected, but I just don't feel like I don't feel morally compromised by watching people talk the way that people talk.
Yeah, and those issues of what scandalizes a person are really subjective, I have to say. I mean, I understand maybe if you're worried about watching a movie where the actors themselves are kind of having to, in a sense, like commit mortal sin or something on screen, that's another matter. But the way that I watch what I'm presented with, I mean, Sai, it could be something complete that seems to 99 out of 100 people completely benign, might be for me the thing that stirs up some kind of unhealthy thought. You never know. You never know with these things.
Right.
So I'm kind of with you on where to draw that line. Probably a little closer to the live and let live than some people would be comfortable with. But my interest, you mentioned before, I'm a relatively new Catholic, but I'm a very old movie watcher. And I have kind of too much invested in the art form and in kind of the offering to people the expression of of this art form. So anyway,
I'll tell you what does offend me, and I'm curious about what you think about this. I think there are many young women in Hollywood who are pressured into disrobing for film. And I think these directors that do that are creeps. I don't like them, and I don't want to watch that because I have daughters of that age. But I'm always thinking, this girl has parents. Like it's not. I don't understand how adult men who are making these films don't just feel like total cads asking a young woman, in some cases a girl, to do this for your stupid film. This is. I don't understand why we don't have higher standards about that. I think it's abusive. I think that just the fact that we expect that of actresses is abusive.
Oftentimes it makes the story worse as well, because what happens when you show too much is that you remove mystery. So you, instead of having a subject on the screen to admire and contemplate, you end up with an object that you then are forced to either desire or reject. So it actually can make a worse movie if you show too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I suppose I am. I mean, I might call somebody else a prude for one thing, and they'll call me a prude for what I think. So I don't want to be. I don't want to play that game. And fair enough if you have a different standard than I have. But I don't understand why we don't, as a society, to say, all right, you're like a 50-year-old man making a movie, and you're asking a 22-year-old woman to do this in your movie. Why are you doing that? Why, why don't you feel like an idiot doing that? Why aren't we making you feel like an idiot? I strongly believe in shame as a powerful shaping force, and I think some of these people should have a little more shame.
Yeah, maybe we all should. But yeah, I agree with you. We tend to like to draw this distinction between guilt and shame. Like guilt is good, shame is bad. But actually feeling ashamed of yourself for certain things that you've done, that's not such a bad thing.
Yeah. All right. So I am a fan of Turner Classic Movies. I discovered the movie Marty there. I didn't even know that movie existed. And so these people are doing really interesting work over there. Not everything that they show is good. I mean, but even they know that not everything they show is good. I think sometimes they know that they're like, well, this is part of the history of film. Here, watch it. That's almost they're like curators of a museum. This is part of it here. And so, but there's great things on there. So I want to ask you about watching some classics. Like, all right, this summer you've heard about this movie, but which ones should we watch? Which ones should we not watch?
If you haven't watched Casablanca before, watch it this summer. I think, again, I don't really remember precisely what season of the year that movie is set in. Yeah. And it doesn't have to do with, going to...
Well, it rains at the end, so I'm going to go with fall.
Okay, maybe. But it is set in North Africa, so who knows when it rains.
Who knows what the weather is in North
Africa? Part of the world.
Right. Well, the North Africans.
They do. Yeah, if you're listening, North Africans, please tell us. But yeah, I mean, it's hot, right? It's set in this like almost desert climate. It's it's just sweltering, and the people are all hanging out in this watering hole, kind of enduring World War II from afar and trying to figure out a way to get to the New World and get away from the the hardships and violence of what's going on the European continent. So they're trying to make their way. It's just a classic. It's a classic. It's a love story. It's a story of sacrifice. It's a story of courage. It's got, Humphrey Bogart, who's just one of the all-time great Hollywood icons. It's got, Claude Rains. It's got other great actors from that era.
Sidney Greenstreet.
Sidney Greenstreet. Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every moment Sidney Greenstreet is on the screen, you just can't stop watching him. He's amazing, and look at him. He doesn't look like a guy that's going to capture your attention, but boy, he does. I want to talk more about Casablanca when we come back, because it has themes in it that it's mysterious why that movie is so good. But I am one of those people who thinks it's one of the greatest movies ever made, and I'm going to try to justify that to you when we come back.
When it comes to Catholic teachings about Mary, there's one question we hear more than any other. Where is that in the Bible? The answer? Everywhere. In Bible Mary, the Mother of Jesus and the Word of God, Father John Weiss opens Scripture to reveal a Mary who has been hiding in plain sight. Order your copy of Bible Mary today at shop.catholic.com or ask for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
As we read the Gospels, every Christian faces the question again and again, what does Jesus mean? Getting the answer right is critical to both growth in holiness and fruitful evangelization. Want to know Jesus better so you can introduce him to your friends? Then it's time to get serious about understanding his words. Why not join Catholic Answers for our 10th annual Apologetics Conference? Learn from me the parables, sermons, and conversations of Jesus Christ. September 26th through 29th, right here in sunny San Diego. Learn from our guests, Dr. Scott Hahn and Kimberly Hahn, Dr. Ray Guarendi, Father Sebastian Walsh, Billy Junker, Father Paul Check, and, of course, all of your favorite Catholic Answers apologists. It'll be 4 days of fun, faith, fellowship, and a live radio show. Seats are still available, but going fast. Visit CatholicAnswersConference.com or call 1-888-291-8000 today.
Why We're Catholic is the one book you can hand to anyone to invite them into or back to the Catholic faith. With more than 400,000 copies sold, Trent Horn's book has had a #1 ranking on Amazon.com for 5 years running. Now available in softcover, bulk cases, ebook, and on Audible. Find out what the excitement is all about. Order your copies of Why We're Catholic at shop.catholic.com or visit whywearecatholic.com.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Hey, if you're looking for great deals on great Catholic books and gifts for dads and grads, visit shop.catholic.com this weekend. It's a big American holiday, Memorial Day, where we remember those who have given their lives in the service of this country. And so the promo code is USA25 because you're going to save 25% off any purchase of $25 or more at shop.catholic.com this weekend. Have a wonderful Memorial Day. And if you're going to be shopping for Catholic stuff, check it out at shop.catholic.com and use that promo code USA25. We're talking about movies to watch this summer. And we are on, Andrew Petiprin is our guest. And you can check out the Spe Salvi Institute to see some of what Andrew does. He's also a columnist at Catholic World Report and a host of Ignatius Press podcasts. And we love talking to him about movies. He wrote a book about movies called Popcorn with the Pope, a guide to the Vatican film list. And he's done lots of work in doing media reviews and in-depth kind of considerations from a Catholic perspective of movies. So, and he's a former Episcopal priest come into the Catholic Church just 5 years ago. And so we're asking him about, what can we watch this summer if, as he's already told us, it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of great movies coming out for the summer. What can we watch this summer? And so pick a classic movie and watch a classic movie. Watch one of those movies that you've heard about but haven't seen. And Casablanca is... it's right at the top of a lot of people's lists of the greatest movies, of the movies you got to see. And I have spoken to people who say, I don't get it. I don't get why Casablanca is the movie. Why do people love it? But you love it, Andrew.
I do. Yeah.
Why do you love it?
I think it's just such a compelling story. I've always been fascinated with World War II. Both of my grandfathers were in World War II, and so, the story of kind of, the different resistance movements and where people sort of where people were trying to stand up for what was right during that era always appeals to me. But I love the movie because it sets all of that in the context of a love story, of this sort of human drama, of all these different characters that play out in this one kind of almost like kind of crucible. I mean, they're all kind of packed into this town, into this one bar, and there are all these competing loyalties and stuff like that. So I don't know, I just love it, beginning to end. It is just thoroughly entertaining and moving.
Do you have the sense that part of why it's a joy to watch the movie is that it has a certain resonance of being set in a place that's out of the action. The action is somewhere else. It's set in a place it's away from the action. And it seems to me that there's something that every modern person has in us, which is, I want to get away from this madness. I want to get away from this madness. I don't want to be part of this anymore. Even if it's just I just want to not be part of this anymore. And to me, that this is the greatness of Casablanca is Rick has found a place where he doesn't have to be part of it anymore. He's free from it. He got away from it. And then because of a moral change in him, because he knows that he has to help other people, that life has a higher purpose, he goes back. He willingly, at the end of the movie, this is the start of a beautiful friendship, and he walks back into it. But I think there's something in all of us that just wants to, as much as we love the modern world and it has so many wonderful things in it, something in us wants a place we can go to get away from it. There's something horrible about modern life that we all just, could I please not be part of this?
Yeah. And in Rick's case, I mean, he has committed himself to political causes in the past, and he has had his heart broken in the past and all these sorts of things. And I mean, who doesn't wake up one morning and just think, I don't want anything. I just want to be free of all of this. I don't care who's right or wrong. I don't care. I just need to be somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rick has it, and he could keep it. He can, he's got the letters. He can get away. But he chooses not to in the end, and it's different when you've chosen it than to just be a victim of it, but to say, nope, I'm going to go back into the fight. I'm going to stick my nose back in there. I'm probably going to end up dead from this, but here I go back into the fight.
Yeah, it's a classic. Everybody who hasn't seen it should see it, and if you have seen it, watch it again.
Give me some other classics. You've heard of them, but have you watched them? But these are some that you'd say, yeah, go back and watch them. This is worth seeing. Give us another classic we might watch this summer.
Okay, well, we already talked about Lawrence of Arabia for a second, but let me now really make the case for that. Lawrence of Arabia is a very long movie, and it's about a man, a historical figure, and the desert. It is a movie I, for some reason, did not think that I would like. I hadn't seen it until probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and I loved it. I think it is one of the great movies of that era. David Lean directed it. It's a big movie in Technicolor.
Yeah.
And it is perfect for a summer viewing. I mean, it's hot, it's the desert, and it is just a gripping story about this man who's just sort of a wild man and just sort of trying to, fulfill his duties while also just, never quite fitting in exactly the right way. It's got really interesting sort of historical information in it, but it's really just a thrilling human story. So I just love it. Beautiful movie.
A really beautiful movie. I mean, but is it too much? Like, do people have the attention span to watch it anymore? I really worry about, some works of art, you have to have the soul preparation to appreciate them. I mean, one of the reasons I have trouble with, the Divine Comedy is you have to have been immersed in poetry and have a kind of mental patience and so it's hard for me. I don't know if people even have the heart for a movie from the 1960s anymore.
Yeah, that may be true. I don't know about you. I know that movies make demands on, as an art form, make demands on the person who's engaging with it in a way that other art forms don't, right? Because it's images that are spread out over time, and you're really captive to, like, if you're watching it in a movie theater, right? You're captive to the art form. You can't just like put it down like you would a book. But if you're watching it at home, you can actually put it down. And I do this all the time. I watch long movies in segments, and I don't really apologize for that. You know, I'll say to myself, I'm going to watch this for half an hour, and maybe that isn't the ideal way to watch it, but if in my kind of, limited 21st century attention span, that's the only way I'm going to be able to do it, I do it, and I get a lot out of it. So I'd recommend that. Don't be ashamed to watch a movie in multiple parts if you have to.
Okay. The movie Lawrence of Arabia also is about evil. I mean, there's real evil in it. And in your view, does Lawrence become evil in this movie?
He does seem to get lost. Yeah. I mean, it's a sad story in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's hard to say whether I don't know if I've really thought about the question in quite that way, but it is. It's definitely not a story where a man becomes morally better than he was at the start, which is too bad.
But he achieves great things.
Yeah.
But what is he by the end of the? Is he Darth Vader, or is he one of the good? What are the other guys called? Not the Sith, a Jedi. I don't know. Is he a Jedi or a Sith? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's appropriate that you make that analogy, though, because Alec Guinness is in that movie as well. So
right,
yeah,
the great Alec Guinness. Yeah. All right. We already talked. You had some other classics you want to get to, Marx Brothers movies, but we already talked about the Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
You mentioned Duck Soup and A Night at the Opera.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Hitchcock, though?
Okay. Yeah, I do want to talk about Hitchcock. Yeah. Okay. So just give me. First of all. All right, Hitchcock, we all get it. He's supposed to be the great filmmaker. What's so great about Hitchcock?
Oh, he's great. He is the master of suspense, as they say. He made meticulous movies that he ensured would be edited the way that he wanted. So he storyboarded everything, which is not something that every director does. He knew exactly the story that he wanted to tell when he started rolling film, which is amazing. I mean, it really is. Like the way that he sort of controlled the environment and produced from beginning to end the product that he wanted people to see is really like no other.
What does that mean? He's storyboarded.
Okay, so I mean, it literally means he would put on boards, drawings, images of the scenes that he wanted to film, and he would lay them out physically so you could see this goes to this and this goes to this and this goes to this, and he would shoot them in a very deliberate way, because back then it wasn't uncommon for studios to take the footage that directors would cut and then they would cut it themselves. So he would shoot the movie in such a way that it was really impossible to edit it into a different movie than what he had storyboarded. So
what a weird hurdle, though. Like artistically, It's like, I know the movie I want to make, so you're not going to have any extra film.
Because he was working right before the era where it became more common for directors to edit their own movies and where they had more control in the kind of auteur era. But, just a masterful director. He worked with the greatest actors as well. And for me, Hitchcock equals summer. It just always has. I have watched Hitchcock movies every summer long before I had children, but now with my children, this is something that we do as well. A number of his movies really are set in the summer. Psycho is, for example, if you remember, it's set in Arizona, or at least it begins in Arizona, and the whole thing is everybody's sweltering and it's so hot, and they want to go into the one air-conditioned office where they can get cool. So and the heat is, in a sense, like kind of part of what creates the tension that then causes Janet Leigh to take the money and run, as it were. So that's a good one. But again, that one might not be for everyone. The ones that I would recommend to almost everyone, however, let me start with what I would put atop my list of greatest summer movies of all time. The number one summer movie of all time, in my opinion, is Rear Window. Alfred Hitchcock's great Rear Window.
Wow.
Stars Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly. They're the stars. And it is summer par excellence. It is set in New York City in this hot box of an apartment. Jimmy Stewart's character, he's a photojournalist who's broken his leg, and he's bound to a wheelchair for a period of time until his leg heals. He has nothing to do but stare out his back window into the courtyard and essentially chronicle the lives of the other people who live in his neighborhood. The tension builds when he thinks that he's witnessing some really, really crazy behavior, someone having been murdered. But then Grace Kelly, his very elegant and definitely not someone who's used to roughing it. She gets involved in this sort of hot world of what's going on with these neighbors. And it is, in my opinion, it is charming. It is so suspenseful and just thoroughly entertaining. So I would recommend everybody check that out this summer.
Great summer movie. You're right. Because I was talking about summer movies like out on the sandlot or the beach, but there's city summer movies too.
Yeah.
That are that's a great call. Any other Hitchcock movies that you like?
One more that I love. Yes, I pretty much love all of Hitchcock's movies. I mean, there are so many that I think work for summer. I think that Shadow of a Doubt works for summer. That's a movie starring Joseph Cotten. That's about this family in this California town. Really great movie. I recommend that one. But the other one that I would really dwell on for just a minute is To Catch a Thief from 1955. Stars Cary Grant and
Grace
again
Kelly
Grace
again.
again Grace Kelly. Yeah, and it is so much fun. It's set in the south of France. And, again, I'm not entirely sure whether it's summer or not, but I do know it's sunny, it's beautiful, and it's just a romp. They're on the run, they're hiding, there's elegance to it. I mean, it is just a terrific watch. So highly recommend.
They drive around in wooden boats. Motorboats.
Drive around, in the boat. Do you
ever have this thing? I watched To Catch a Thief just because I wanted to see Monaco in the 1950s. I just wanted to see it, and Hitchcock actually gives you some of it. Like I'll tell you, I watched the movie Key Largo because I wanted to see Key Largo in the 1950s. There's no Key Largo in the movie. It doesn't. No. The whole thing's shot on a set. Hitchcock at least takes you out to see Monaco in the 1950s, and it's really something.
Do you know what is just an underappreciated thing, Cy, about movies? I don't understand why more directors don't just take a camera to a beautiful place and film something there.
I know.
Why not?
No, right. That's exactly right. Key Largo is a terrible movie. I hate that movie.
Interesting. I don't know if I hate it, but you're right. That
no, because I wanted to see Key Largo, and the whole thing is indoors at a hotel, and it's not even. Yeah. And you're on a set the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some. The Tom Cruise is good at that, taking you around the world in his movies. James Bond is good at that, taking you to see wonderful places in the movies.
Yeah, well, funny you bring up Tom Cruise, because the Mission Impossible movies are on my list of summer movies, and they're thrilling. They're so much fun to watch, and you're absolutely right. They take you interesting places. Maybe you're going on a great summer vacation. I don't know. My family, we don't really have anything planned at the moment, but I can watch Mission Impossible, and I can go to Paris. I can go to Dubai. I can go to Prague. I can go all around the world to these interesting places and follow these people living these wild lives. The Mission Impossible movies, by the way, usually are they do a really good job, I think, of presenting things. There is violence, to be sure, but Tom Cruise, for example, now as an older actor, he never does love scenes with younger actresses. That's just something that he just doesn't do as a matter of principle. But there's still romance, and there's still there's still love stories going on in those movies. I think those are getting better and better, by the way, those Mission Impossible movies. I loved the last one, and there's another one coming eventually. But
not this summer. We won't see it this summer. Okay.
No, all right. No, unfortunately. But if you're behind on your Mission Impossible movies, why not catch up this summer and then look forward to more to come?
All right. Tell you what we're going to do when we come back. We're going to do lightning round, where you're just going to give us a quick watch this one because, and we'll get through a bunch of movies that you can watch this summer. It's our summer movie edition of Catholic Answers Live with Andrew Petiprin. Back with more right after this.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live.
The Catechism defines evangelization as the proclamation of Christ and his gospel by word and the testimony of life. But what does that look like in real life? It looks like St. Paul street evangelists out in the public square sharing the good news. We're a Catholic nonprofit that starts conversations by handing out free sacramentals. Then we employ our method of listen, befriend, proclaim, and invite. Catholic Answers is supported in part by St. Paul Street Evangelization. Visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
Another great podcast on EWTN Podcast Central is The Word on the Word with Veronica and Melissa. It gives you a deeper look at this Sunday's Mass readings. You can go further into God's Word every week. You can hear The Word on the Word and other faith-filled podcasts from our friends and affiliates around the world, all in one place, all free at EWTN Podcast Central. Visit EWTN.com/radio and click on Podcast Central today.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Andrew Petiprin is our guest. He knows a lot about movies, and he's one of the authors of Popcorn with the Pope, A Guide to the Vatican Film List, giving us some summer movies to watch. We started out on a little bit of a down note, the idea being that there's not that many great movies that are scheduled to come. And movies can always surprise you. Maybe something great is coming, but there's not much that it appears to look forward to at the Cineplex this summer. So we're just looking at some films you can screen at home, or maybe you'll get a chance to watch them at one of the Fathom events, or there'll be a special screening. Sometimes you can catch them that way. And that's always fun to go out and watch movies in a movie theater. But maybe the home theater, put the home theater to use this summer. And so we're going to do the lightning round now, where we're going to get a whole bunch of movies. First, I want you to give us a pitch for one of your favorite filmmakers, French Catholic film director Eric Rohmer.
Yeah, thanks for indulging me, Cy. I know Eric Rohmer might not be a household name to all of our listeners, but I want to stick up for him and advocate for him and recommend some movies that he has made for summer viewing. He was a Frenchman, a committed Catholic, but his movies don't kind of hit you over the head with Catholicism. He just makes these great movies about people doing all kinds of things in the world. And he has made multiple movies. This is so French, Cy. He has made multiple movies. He's dead now, but he made multiple movies about the dilemma of how to spend your summer holidays, which is a real dilemma to French people. You know, they take a whole month off.
That's
right?
why I love the French. They have it right. I'm not. They're not wrong about this. Okay, that's what this. By the way, is what this is one of the two reasons I think Juneteenth is the greatest accomplishment of the Biden administration. A June holiday, yes. And celebrating the emancipation of slaves, yes. I'm on both counts. I'm with you, Joe Biden, on that one.
I agree. That's something we can praise. But anyway, Eric Rohmer, he makes these beautiful movies, and some of them are set in the summertime, including one called A Tale of Summer from 1996. I love that one. Highly recommend it. He made one from 1986 called The Green Ray, which is a beautiful movie about a woman not only trying to figure out how to spend her summer holidays, but what the meaning of life is. Wonderful movie, The Green Ray. Okay. And then one more is called Claire's Knee from 1970. That's a great example of where a man, Eric Rohmer, took a camera to a beautiful place, Lake Geneva, and pointed his camera at it and made something really beautiful. And it's a story. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's just wonderful. I think that's your idea. You're expressing something that I think I had in my heart, but wouldn't have ever put into words. Take the camera somewhere beautiful and make a movie. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get from watching Eric Rohmer. So I highly recommend him. Right, Rohmer, Rohmer.
All right, so it's lightning round. Start recommending some summer movies to watch this summer. Ready? Go.
Okay, I'm calling these summer movies by my own definition, but Here they are. Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. One of the greatest movies of all time, perfect summer viewing. Put that on your list this summer. Okay, American Graffiti from 1973, another coming-of-age movie, kids tooling around town, trying to figure out what to make of themselves. Love that one. George Lucas directed that one, by the way. Do the Right Thing. Let me advocate for that one. Spike Lee. Yes, it is another hot movie, urban movie. It's a movie about race relations. It's a movie about American society. It is a masterpiece. I'm telling you what, watch this movie. It is a great summer movie. Let's think. Midnight in Paris is another one from 2011. It's a Woody Allen movie starring Owen Wilson about a man who's trying to make sense of his life wandering around Paris and ends up back in the past in a previous era of Paris. Very summery, very beautiful. I love that movie. This summer, you might want to sit down with the family and watch The Princess Bride again if you haven't watched that recently. I love that one. It's a cult classic, always fun. Here's one, an animated movie, My Neighbor Totoro, from Japan by Hayao Miyazaki from the Studio Ghibli. Highly recommend that one. It's a movie about two girls who move to the country with their father while their mother is sick during the summertime. And it's a movie about self-discovery and all kinds of wonderful things. It's a beautiful movie. I love that.
And the theme running through these are for you. These are summer movies.
Yeah,
and so that's the whole standard here is to Andrew Petiprin. These are summer movies.
These are movies that, for me, when I think of summer, I think I want to put these movies on. So I'm recommending them as such.
Very good. Very good.
The only other ones I would list, what about a movie marathon? Perfect for summertime. Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. You're never going to find a better trilogy than that, in my humble opinion. But you could try to find another comparable trilogy in something like the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the original Star Wars movies. Those are great to watch during the summertime. Or if you're into Harry Potter, why not make your way through all the Harry Potter movies? All great things to watch during the summertime.
So Back to the Future, that's your top, though. If you're going to have a movie marathon, you would make it a Back to the Future marathon.
Me personally, yes. I think Back to the Future is just a peerless trilogy. I love the Back to the Future trilogy.
Including Back to the Future 3.
Including Back to the Future 3. I love it.
I thought I was alone in that. I love that movie. And I don't, and I guess people don't like the third movie a lot of the time. The Godfather movies, I've never seen the third movie. I've seen the first two multiple times.
The third one will let you down, I'm afraid. In my opinion, 1 and 2 masterpieces. The third one, not so much.
And Lord of the Rings, did you happen to see the TV show that Amazon made about the Rings of Power?
I watched the first few minutes of the first episode and I turned it off. I really didn't enjoy it. Did you watch it?
I watched every minute of it. Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I would love to have every minute of it back to do something else.
Okay.
They completely blew it. The thing that Peter Jackson did in the Lord of the Rings films was create real menace and enormous scale so that small human stories could be told with the background of real menace and enormous scale, which is actually how human life works. And that is the thing they completely missed. There was no real menace in the background. And there was no scale at all. Like, the world is small, not big. It was a TV world. It wasn't a movie world. And so the little human lives just seemed small. They didn't seem like, well, like the hobbits, you seem small, but there's something great in you. In the TV show, it was like, you seem small, you kind of are small. There's really nothing really that important about you. That's the way I felt after watching the whole thing. Are you being bold in recommending Harry Potter? I mean, some people are really against all the witchcraft, and they say you'll be possessed by demons if you watch Harry Potter and all that.
I don't agree with that. I think the Harry Potter books and movies are good. I think they tell good stories about growing up, and even though it's misplaced enchantment in certain respects, I think we probably need a little more magic in our lives. And so, yeah, I'm a fan.
I would like to see you try to make a Christian movie series where the villain ends up in hell at the end. Try to make it. Nobody would, and that's what J.K. Rowling pulled off. I think, wow, she got away with doing what you never could do in a Christian movie. She sent the bad guy to hell. Andrew Petiprin, what a delight to get to spend 2 hours with you. I hope you have a very happy Memorial Day. Go enjoy your hot dogs.
Thanks, you too.
Although you're in Texas, you probably have barbecue of some sort, huh? You probably don't eat hot dogs.
I hope so.
Really?
Oh yeah, we can have a bit of everything.
All right. Well, hey, check out the sale over at shop.catholic.com. Get 25% off everything this weekend if you use the promo code USA25. And praise God and thank God, and eternal rest grant unto all those who gave their lives in the service of this country, Lord. Let the perpetual light shine upon them. May the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. That will do it for us on this Memorial Day. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing, right here on Catholic Answers Live.